guys, welcome back to the channel. Just thought I'd shoot a quick video of where we're at with the engine stand. I started to build my radiator supports here that slip down here. I've just got to work out where I'm going to attach the frames to be able to bolt it on and then attach hoses. But in the meantime, I thought I'd show you the condition of the cams and the overall look of the engine so far. Okay, you probably remember from the last video when, well, probably about a year ago now I was up there, but you knew that I inspected the cams and they appeared to be in beautiful shape. No scoring on them whatsoever. There's another lobe showing. Really nice shape. And also on top of that, the timing chain, I'm pretty sure has been done in the not too distant past. There's literally no play at the top of the chain at all whatsoever. I think really bad ones you can actually lift them slightly because there's chain stretch. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn it round, check our markings on the distributor, the harmonic balancer, and then the two marks on the cams, get all that lined up, and that should give us an indication of chain stretch if there is any. Now the cam gears, I have a slight wave on the pull-in side, so to speak. I think there is just a slight bit of wear on these cams, but because of the condition of the chain and the tension and everything seems good, I think I'll get away with keeping these until the next time I open it up. I don't think they're imminent failure or anything like that, but let me know what you think, guys. So that is that. I'm going to crank it over to top dead center and see what the valve clearances are like. Alright, that took me a little time to find the markings because you got these hash marks on the front here and the degree marks are on the piece of metal that's set down behind, and they were covered in crap, and I think you could probably see those now. And they start, the top dead center is not in the middle of all these marks, it's here. So you've got 5 degrees here and then 5 degrees after, and then subsequent marks after, you see. Or hold on, no, before top dead center, before top dead center, and then after. Let's crank the engine to get it to top dead center. You don't want to, you always want to go clockwise. I'm not going to reverse that, so I'm going to turn it all the way round. Turns real easy. Okay, we're spot on now. Okay, let's see if you can see that. See that little notch on the cam in line with this notch on the tower here, you see? That's pretty much on there. Then we've got very difficult to detect notch in the distributor housing here. Let me see if I can focus on that. See that little notch there in line? Means we're on top dead center, you know, number 1. And then we've got the little notch on the back of the cam there in line with that mark on the cam tower. Yeah, we're running, we might have a bit of chain stretch there because we are running at nearly 5 degrees on this harmonic balancer, so I think we've got a bit of chain stretch. I can just lift it very slightly off of the cam gear, so that's something I think we're going to have to put in the list of maintenance jobs, because yeah, we've got about just over 5 degrees of stretch there, and I think that's beyond what's acceptable. So this, I say, this is a replacement chain because it's got a master link, so I think it's going to have a new chain. So at least the valve guides, the chain guides are all metal, so they'll be staying the same. Probably throw a tensioner on there, and while we're at it, we'll reassess those cam gears and see if we'll change those. So more money, but anyway, that's what it's got to be done, isn't it? So we can still adjust the valves here and go from there, and then we could do a compression test because all of this can be done later on. Okay, so this is number 1. Okay, and what we've got our inlet and our exhaust. So our intake clearance, like I say, is 0.10. Let's actually dragging very slightly. That's not that far out. And then on the exhaust, I think they could do with a fractional tightening. So let's do that. And when you turn them, you really don't have to turn it very much at all. I've got the proper valve adjustment tool, basically a dog's foot from Hazard. You can get these for about 65, 85 bucks, something like that. They tend to be, I think, a little on the fat side. Now what we are going to have to do is remove the springs, the spring tensioners, to be able to do this. So let's remove those springs. You do have to unhook these little retaining springs that hook on to two little pins at the bottom where the adjuster is, and then this little clip holds on to the rocker. You see, these are to keep the tension right there on the adjuster. So now we can make the adjustment, and I always like to put them back to where they came from, you know. So this is for the exhaust and the other one's for the intake. So now we'll get the dog leg on there. That goes there. Now obviously if you want to bring up the valve to close the gap, you're going to have to essentially undo that nut, because then essentially it's undoing and lifting the rocker arm up, connecting closer to the cam. If it was too tight, you'd screw it in to make the gap wider, wouldn't you? So you really don't need a lot, and sometimes these can be a bit of a pain. So I just use my larger ratchet bar, and like I say, we're undoing it slightly. Now there you go, that's just a smidge. Actually moved pretty easy. We kind of settle the arm a little bit, give it a few taps, and we're doing the exhaust valve now. I'm not going to show you all of these because it'll take me forever. And like I say, you don't need to move a lot. It's just a tiny, inconsequential amount, really. This hooks round here. That little clicking is just a torque wrench. Make sure we got the right one. Yeah, they were a little loose, so that's starting to drag ever so slightly now. I think I'll do that a little bit more. Now you can imagine, I mean, I've done this on my 6-cylinder and my V8, but you can see how much easier it is here, right on this engine stand. Let's try that. These are turning quite easily, actually. There you go. Very slight drag now. That's really feels good. Just knocking that valve arm there to settle it. That's perfect, that. It's got a nice drag. So that's the exhaust valve done. Now we're going to do the intake valve, and that is 0.10 mil. And like I say, that's all. It goes in pretty easy. Let's see if this guy turns. That turned pretty easy again, not bad. See, that's already very slight drag. That's already a good. Now you saw how little I turned it. It was just, you know, tiny bit. If you don't want to go spending $70, $80 on one of these things, you can get a crow's foot in there, okay? But buy a very high quality one. Don't buy crap, okay? Let me show you how a crow's foot. This is a 17 mil crow's foot, okay? And they look identical. There's no deviation. This is a high quality crow's foot. This one cost me, I think I paid 20 bucks for it. It's a good quality American made one, so it's accurate. Oh, it's Carlisle by the looks of it. I think they're part of Matco or something anyway, but it wasn't cheap. You can buy a set of these darn things for 15 bucks, but this just one cost me 20 bucks, I think. So get a good one, because you don't want to be rounding off those adjusting studs, do you? So then get yourself an extension, and then I got this breaker bar, a 3/8 breaker bar, and that's plenty. Get that in there, or obviously you could put a ratchet one on there, and it goes in much the same. Like I say, I bought this one just because, you know, I do all my maintenance on my car, and I thought having a dedicated tool is a good idea anyway. So number one, and work your way around in the firing order. To always turn in the engine by the harmonic balancer, never by the cam gear nuts here. Big no to do that. So on the M130, I think the harmonic balancer nut is around 27 mil. I think I may be wrong on that, but this beast is a 50 mil. So I'm going to work my way round in order, taking the springs off, putting them back on in order. Let me find one of these little rockers. I've got some new ones over here that I'll show you how the spring clips on. It's a bit easier to show you out of the engine. Okay, just for reference, here's a rocker that I have, a new rocker actually. I've got a bunch of them, and it's much the same as the 6.3. I think this is for a 280 SE. They may even be identical, I'm not sure, because they actually look visually exactly the same, but maybe someone can tell me. But just for visual purposes, this is a spring, right? So just below here where the tower is, there's two little pins sticking out, and these little hooks hook onto those pins. They're a little fiddly in there. Sure, once this motor's in the car, it'll be even more fiddly, but it locks on, and then this thing this spring goes over and rides, and it lever it over the flat bladed screwdriver or something, and then locks into that channel there, and that keeps the tension downwards onto the adjusting ball pin that goes in here. You see, it's kind of curved out in there, and that's all that we're doing. We're actually pushing the valve up or pushing it down, you see, to change the clearances on this mating surfaces to the cam. If for some reason you're having trouble with these adjusters, right, and they won't turn for love nor money, you're going to have to take this rocker arm off, and which you're going to need a spring compressor to remove these rocker arms to release them off, because these are essentially like little towers with a ball stud on the top, right? So you're going to have to compress the spring down, take the rocker out, and then you can get a full type 6-point socket on it and just break them free and then reassemble it, you know. So but don't go really going mental with one of these, because you could round off those adjusting studs, and then you'd be in a world of hurt. So that's one thing before I go on. Another difference on the 6.3, as I'm familiarising myself with it, see this cam oiler tube, right? Metal cam oiler tube, and these are metal tabs bolted straight onto these cam towers. Okay, now on the M117, the 4.5, that is also another maintenance item you should take into consideration when you going in and doing your valve adjustments, right? As these little brown plastic clips, right, on each of the towers holding them. They're extremely cheap, just literally dollars, you know, not a lot of money, but because of obviously heat cycles and it's plastic, if they break or give out, right, worst case scenario, well, you got bits of plastic flying around in there, but worst case scenario, this cam oiler tube falls down, and it probably, I don't know that it would do much damage bouncing around in here, but it would be starving the cams of oil, and you'll completely destroy the engine and destroy the cams, wouldn't you? So for a few dollars, replace these plastic clips on the 4.5, I'm assuming on the 3.5 M116 as well, and I'm not sure, someone out there will know other engines that have that, but it's nice to see these 6.3s were bolted on with little metal tabs, so you really haven't got to worry. I mean, I guess what you could do, I might well do this. Take this tube off, flush it out, clean it out, make sure it's nice and clean and we've got good oil dripping down onto these cams. Now, if it weren't hard enough to get those springs on, right, I've got that one on, right, but if you look here, down here, now I don't know whether you can see this on camera, but there's a pin with two little notches, and that's what the spring is hooked onto, right? I'll see if I can get more light in here, I'll show you. So if you can see, right down there at the bottom, I'll push it out this side. You can see it right there, see that pin? Now that is just a pin with notches on the end that the spring is supposed to hook to. That's these two little guys, right? That'll hook onto there and then lock up. So what I was having trouble with is that you get one side on and that pin was kind of slopping back and forth, and then it had the bracket here that holds the cam covers on. It's just a tower bracket. There's two Allen bolts, so I just ended up removing that. It's just a quick gives you better access basically to be able to get those pins on securely. Then you can thoroughly check with a flashlight, make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. You don't want these springs coming off, do you? One more thing before I go. This is a tool. I think it's something to do with you know, on drum brakes, or yeah, drum brakes, there's a big spring and stuff, and this is to kind of hook springs and stuff. It's just a T-bar with a hook on the end, and it works great to grab hold of the spring. Once you've got those two pins connected to one side, is grab hold of the spring and then kind of hook it over here and then hook it back on. Works great, anything like that really, just to get some leverage in there. So let me put, this is number one done. I'm going to put this bracket back. There's a long bolt on the top and a short bolt at the bottom, and I'm just going to do the rest and then we'll finish up. So just like all Mercedes I'm aware of anyway, there's the firing order. So we've done one, I've just done 5, next one's 4, which is the, as you're looking at the car, the back left one. So just while we're here, I always have trouble finding these settings in the manual, but I'll give them to you. So here are the various engines and the exhaust and intake valves positioning. That's the 6 cylinders, and then we've got the 3.5 and yeah, the 8 cylinder, that'll be the 4.5 as well. And here's the 6.3. And just for your reference, here are the valve clearances. As you can see, the only one that varies is the 6.3 has a slightly wider clearance for the exhaust valve at 0.25. The rest are 0.10 for the intake and 0.20 for the exhaust on all the other models. So there you go. Okay, let me show you when you rotate the engine to do each successive valve. I'll show you how the cam lobes are supposed to. So we're doing number 6 now. I'm obviously preaching to the choir here, but just in case for people that are not familiar or not sure, these are obviously the lobes of the cam. When they come in contact with the rocker, pushes down, opens the valve. So obviously we don't want these pushing down, so these are pointing up kind of around equal, so that you know the mating surface is the curved part. Can't think of the name of that. There's a particular name for this, and then the ramp up and then the top of the lobe. So that's the position you want to make the adjustments with the feeler gauges and checking and all that, and then the adjustments. Thanks for watching, guys. All pretty straightforward, all pretty much identical to the 4.5 and the 6 cylinder as far as the procedure. Just keeping track of where you're going. On this, I'm putting the springs back as I go, making sure the springs go back in the same place. Don't know that makes a lot of difference, but that little pin that they hook round, just confirm that the spring is held onto that properly, and check it with a flashlight, make sure everything goes back exactly where it's supposed to be. You won't want a spring flying off inside there. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully by the time I get round to the next video, we'll be doing the radiator mount, and then we'll work on a battery tray mount for this, and then the control panels, fuel tank, all that stuff. But Must get back to that differential. I'm sure a few of you are wanting to see that moving along. It's sitting in there. I've done a few things to make the install easy, you know, of the race, the bearing race. So again, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.